economical.
Okay, that's, because obviously, as being the other north-south route, when 101 fails, and there's been times where we've needed this, and
Right.
these improvements will be a huge help.
It really came to a head. We used to have a permit with Fish and Game to simply grade the fords to keep them open.
Right.
They did not renew that permit in 2001 and ignored our application to further work them. So right now, we can't even work the fords.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Excuse me, Supervisor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe, Mr. DeShield, you and I have been talking about this since 2002, right?
Yes.
When I was working at the federal level and
Yes.
really working on trying to get the grants. And the thing that always was the challenge is the grants were usually given out with a respect to the amount of salmonid habitat that was being restored or preserved or reclaimed. And so this just didn't rate. And at one point, we thought we had the money, and then it didn't materialize. So, and the prototype has been there with Mr. Calvert from, I think, about that point in
Right.
time, too.
Right.
So it's great to see that one can get on the ground and be the prototype and see where it goes. What was I'm just interested in the EPA grant that you said the funding actually is there and is available.
It's a 205J. It's actually, Supervisor Smith, the grant that we should have had in 2002, and we ended up with the wrong grant from Ag, is what happened
Right.
through a legislative thing, yeah.
So, but you have the money now.
Yep.
And so in addition to approving the mitigated negative deck, we're actually approving to go ahead with the prototype.
Well, no, I'll come back to you with construction contract for your approval. You've already, by previous resolution, granted us the authority to get the grant money. You've given us, by previous action, the authority to hire the consultant, Rowan Associates, to do the study. We'll come back to you when we hire the contractor, unless we determine we can build it with our own forces, and we'll probably still come back to you then.
So the EPA money is there and is available, and so we can get this going. And when do you expect the construction to actually occur?
We need to do it this summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, thank you.
Supervisor Pincher.
This is basically a cement structure, isn't it?
Correct. It's
Mostly cement work, yeah.
prefabricated concrete units, and a footing is poured. They come in on a truck, and you load them off of a crane, and they're ready to go.
So then if they're prefab, you could do it with county forces.
We have built 2 of these already with county forces, and it's going to depend on what our workload is this year and things, yeah.
Okay, before I go to public comment, Howard, there, in your letter, page 2, about halfway down, one comment received from CAL FIRE as the agency review, their concern of being designed to accommodate their largest, heaviest piece of firefighting equipment, that being a transport with a loaded firefighting dozer. Will this design meet those?
These are fully engineered for purple load, as we call it, full overload. In other words, they come pre-manufactured with an engineer's stamp on them from the company we buy them from.
Great, thank you. I'll now, unless I see any other pens go up, I'll invite public comment to this issue. Please step forward, state your name, and try and keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Jim Gowan, and I have a few questions for Mr. DeShield.
Yes?
There's one crossing that is just a very small creek that runs out of the mountainside into Cave Creek that could, it looks to me like it could be taken care of with a common culvert because there's no fish going up that stream. It almost comes off the mountainside there, so that eliminates 1 out of 9 to start with.
Okay.
And just wanted to state that Tomkai is now sinking again, and it's down probably 8 inches, and it was sinking several months, 2 years ago, I think. And they keep building up on top, and it keeps slipping out underneath. And if that road were to give out, we'd be landlocked without that other road or somebody opening a gate going into Willits or Potter Valley.
I'm familiar with those slip outs at 455 and 545, milepost 545 and 555. I'm in negotiations with FEMA right now to get funding to work on those, so I'm very familiar with those road
Yeah,
failures.
good. Okay, and I think the last two creek crossings going north are so close together that if it's feasible to realign some of the creek bed, you could probably make one crossing and realign the bed.
Okay.
Also, you were describing the culvert or bridgings. Are they not like a half a culvert with the ends on the footings? So it's just an arch.
Looks like a little arch bridge, that's correct.
Pre-manufactured arch.
That's what it is.
Leaving the bed as it was.
Correct.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gowan. Other members of the public, please step forward and state your name.
Property along Tomkai Road.
You can pull that down.
And
Thank you.
I think 3 to 4 of those creek crossings are on my property. Since 1950, we've owned quite a bit of land right up in there. My question is, are you going to realign the road in any way when you put these creek, culverts over the crossings over the creek?
Well, this hearing primarily deals with the first crossing, the prototype. The consultant, Rao and Associates, is completing a study that looks at realignments, and that study will, we'll notice you when that's complete. We'll look at that. As it turns out, the agencies are reluctant to, as the other gentleman said, move a course of water. They're trying to keep natural, even if fish don't go somewhere, they want to keep the gravels and natural materials moving freely. So what it's boiling down to is we'll probably build these structures in such a way as to connect the creek and keep it as natural as possible. That is what it looks like we're headed towards.
That's great. That is great.
Okay.
Because the land on the west side of the road is very unstable.
Okay.
And, if you go up onto the west side of the road, you'd have to practically go up to the top of the ridge because the ground keeps slipping down. So you're better off right where the ground isn't going to slip.
Well, we're looking at the top of the ridge and other things, and like I said, the recommendations of that report will come in, and obviously we can't move a road without acquiring new right-of-way and giving up old right-of-way, and I'll just say preliminarily, it doesn't look like we're going to go that way, but I can't say.
It'd be very costly to do something like that, yeah. Okay, that's all I was wondering about, whether you were going to just realign the whole.
We don't know for sure yet, but probably not.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Other members, please state your name.
Yes, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Grosinger. I'm the president of the Cave Creek Road Maintenance Association, which is kind of at the headwaters of Cave Creek there. And I'm here to support this creek crossing because it is kind of vital to our community up there. There's 55 different parcels that are in that area, that if something, as the former gentleman said, that if something happens to the southern part of Tomkai, either because of water or an earthquake, if you were around Sunday at 10:14, we had a 3.4, and 50 minutes later we had a 3.3. So any kind of really a major tremble in an area that is so prone to slippage as where Tomkai Road is, we need to have an access that can get us out of where we're at through another access as north. And